Well, welcome back to All Fired Up Radio. I'm your host, Beatrice Wilson. And where things are surely cooling down here in Houston with high temperatures in the high 50s and sweaters coming out because we as Texans don't know how to handle such weather. There is one thing that is not cooling down, and that is the subject of illegal immigration in our country and very much in our state. Our next guest is Larry Corkmas, who's a tireless activist for America as a whole. He has trained hundreds in Tea Party leadership and how to become involved in politics. Larry has served as an election judge in his precinct. He was chairman of the Governmental Affairs Committee of the Houston West Chamber of Commerce. He is a continual visitor to Austin on behalf of conservative issues and now serves as president of Texans for Immigration Reduction and Enforcement, that's TFIRE, tfire.org, and is a national spokesperson for Stop the Magnet, as well as vice president of the Executive Council. Welcome to All Fired Up, Larry. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Are you enjoying this lovely weather that we're having?
We are absolutely enjoying the lovely weather. It's beautiful and overdue. Thank you.
Well, I wouldn't go as far as to say overdue. I'm not a fan of the cold weather.
But I am a fan of securing these borders, and I think that there are a lot of people like me. I know that just over in Dallas on Sunday at the University of Dallas, they had set up a sort of town hall type forum where they were to debate. It was supposed to be a debate, but ended up just kind of being a question and answer session, a discussion of sorts regarding restructuring the immigration policy. And that goes directly to what you're joining us to talk about, which is what is driving the immigration issue and how are we doing on that?
Well, we're not doing very well because we still have an open border, and almost everyone who tries to come up with a solution to the problem says that we need to seal the borders first. The problem with that is that appears, for all intent, to be a stalking horse, because as people discuss how we're going to stop the border, no one has stopped or closed the borders. And so we still have massive amounts of illegal aliens coming into the country through our porous borders on both the north and the south borders of the United States
Well,
proper.
yes, and I agree with you that that's what everyone says. Everyone says we first have to secure the borders. But here is a question for you, from, say, we the people. Who do we talk to? Where do we get this ball rolling? How do we get this started governmentally? Where do we start to talk to someone to let them know that we do, in fact, want these borders sealed? Where do we start?
Well, we have a problem with the Texas government and the United States government in that politicians see a very rich source of future votes. And there are many people who believe that demographics indicate that Hispanics will become a majority group within the state of Texas and perhaps over time even in the United States. So everyone is out there polling and trying to attract those votes at the present time. And until we go back to a basic foundation, and that is that the United States, or America, is a great melting pot where we can all enjoy our ethnic food and even celebrate our ethnic culture. But one of the things that we all have to do is become Americans. And as long as we have people out in both parties who want to divide us up into black and white and Hispanic and American Indian and whatever else we may have come from in the world, then we will not be that wonderful American culture that we had until about 40 years ago or so.
Right. Well, personally, I see this country as, and And first, let me say this. I'm third generation American, and I see this country as a country of laws. Laws that need to be enforced in order to be the country that we have. And they see this country as having been stolen from them somehow, a place where we owe them. So they should be able to come here in their minds, regardless of whether they have the money to gain their citizenship, because it does take money to come here legally. But regardless, they feel that they should be able to be here well, it's safer for their families and they can prosper well here. And there's so much that draws them to our country. How do we fight this? Can we fight it? And can we win?
Well, we can fight this, and I think we can win once people start to understand what the issues are and how much the cost is to us. For example, the Harris County Hospital District, just here in Houston, we're not talking about the state of Texas or the United States, unauthorized immigrants for the last fiscal year of 2012, the total cost of treating unauthorized immigrants, as they are classified by the hospital, was $206,537,390-something. Now, that is an awful amount of money for us to be expending on people who are not authorized to be here. And that accounts for 19% of the total cost of the Harris County Hospital District. When we look at the number of children who are the children of illegal aliens, and that is the federal classification for them, each of those children cost us at least $10,000 a year, if the numbers I'm getting here are correct from the state. Roughly $10,000 per year per child. And the problem that we have is that the English is not their first language. We don't have a melting pot. And so therefore we have this situation where sometimes the first people to come in work very, very hard, and I have observed many of them in the country. They are very hard workers, but their families tend to move on to be on assistance of some type, and so therefore we have a situation where we bring in workers to do work, but the families follow along, or they marry here, and they have children. And then we start to see a downflow and an increase in cost. And so we have to address this issue. We have to let everyone know what this is all about. There's another issue here that is close to my heart because I've been an educator, and I have seen how much it costs for young people to go to college. I've taught as an adjunct professor. And I've noticed the students come in and they tell me how much they have in student debt. And what we are doing is we are allowing people to come into the country who are not supposed to be here. Some of them get scholarships. Some of them get other benefits, whether it's in-state tuition. And so families who are out here spending a lot of money to send their children to college are being undercut by people who came in here illegally. Some of them were born here, some of them came in various ways. They go to school here. Some of them have debt, some do not have debt. Either way, we have competition for the jobs that are here in the United States right now from people who are not supposed to be here. And this is going to be a problem that as more and more students understand this, the question is going to come up. Why should we go into debt for student loans for anywhere from $40,000 to $70,000 if our country is going to allow people to come here and either get an education in this country or, as so often happens in the engineering field, there are people coming in here on the H-1B visa, and they are engineers who are trained in other countries, and they come here and work for lower wages. And they compete with engineers who are in this country, especially new graduates who are looking for positions And so our wage scale or our salary scale in this country is being undercut by these people who come in under these programs.
Well, Larry, what are some of the hidden costs that we don't necessarily see every day or hear about every day? We as a public, we already know that these illegal immigrants are getting health care that we pay for through our taxes. We know that they're able to be in our schools and they're benefiting from our education systems. And a lot of their kids are getting school lunches that they get for free, but the taxpayers are providing for that as well as breakfasts. We know these things are being provided through our taxes because we've heard about them in the news and talk shows like this. But are there other incentives that maybe we don't hear so much about that they're getting?
Absolutely. One of those costs is that we have people coming in who are criminals. And we also have people come in across the border, and all kinds of evidence has been found along the border, including an ID card from a person who was a member of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. We have had prayer mats found. We found terrorist literature along the border. And our borders have allowed us to be infiltrated by people who don't like our country. But and as bad as that is, we also have a number of felons who were fleeing prosecution in their countries, and they are coming in here to the United States to hide out. And it is so easy for a person to fake being someone from South or Central America. And so it's a matter of changing your haircut and your mustache design, and all of a sudden you fit in, and if you can learn some Spanish, then you can fit into the country. So we have a wave of crime going on in the United States, and so one of the big costs that we've got is the cost of incarceration of these criminals. And so therefore we have rapes, we have murders, we have robberies. All of these things are associated with people who should not belong in the country, and if we had secured our borders, this would not be an issue. They would not be here, so therefore the crimes would not occur. We also have another issue that's a hidden source, and that is that we have people who want to hire illegal aliens, and they are the ones who pay the politicians to look the other way, to not pass the bills such as E-Verify for the state of Texas or sanctuary city bills, which would penalize cities for welcoming illegal aliens, or looking the other way when they are found. These employers do things such as hazardous waste cleanups, they do construction of homes, they build highways, they do all kinds of other work, but a lot of that work is hazardous. And so they love an employee who is illegal, and the employees are very subservient. They do whatever they're told because it's real easy to get them shipped out of the country if someone doesn't toe the line, so to speak. One of the most egregious things that I've seen it is a problem for our society as a whole, is that there are people who will go hire a bunch of illegal aliens to go do a job, and then when it's close to payday, they will call ICE and have these people picked up and deported.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
So that they don't have to pay them.
So that they don't have to pay them. And I have met with some of these illegal aliens who were done this way. I don't care if they sneaked into the United States, and I don't care whether they are here illegally when it comes to the point of the fact that we are not to be a people who steal labor from other people. And I will say one thing that our legislature did last year that was good, and that was that they passed a wage theft bill which would attempt to try to stop this. Now, what was kind of funny about that was the people who pay a lot of politicians a lot of donations for their campaigns got blindsided by this one, but it does allow people who have not been paid to go to JP court and try to collect from these employers who do that kind of practice.
Wow.
But see, cheap labor is not cheap, because what is happening is the people who hire the illegal alien, they are shifting the cost of hiring an American citizen onto the general public, whether it is the cost of incarceration, the cost of schooling their children, or the cost of taking care of them at their medical needs.
Absolutely. And the dollars do add up. And you know, we go to work and we tend to our lives and our business, and we see that our tax dollars are going up, but they don't seem to be benefiting us much. And taxes are going up and up and up. Everywhere we go, we're paying more for this and that and the other, and we're paying more for things that we have and that we've had. We got them, when we got them, these things were affordable. And I'm wondering, is that why America is a wonderful place to live? In fact, if you're a lover of freedom, even in the current circumstances and choices that our legislators have made, this is the greatest nation and the brightest beacon, a great place of freedom. I can definitely understand why people would want to come here, and I can understand why they want to bring their families here. I certainly do understand the draw for immigrants to come here, even illegally. And I understand also that a lot of these people come here, and I have personally worked with some of them. They work hard. They are great employees. They're an asset to a company. They're on time. They don't make excuses. They're always at work. They're very dependable. Why is it then, do you think, and I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here, but why do you think that the American people as a whole are so against immigrants coming here, realizing, as we do, that it takes a lot to become a legal citizen of the United States, and possibly, quite honestly, probably a lot more than these folks have?
Well, the reason here, let's go back and let me go back and explain something that makes this different than the way it was years ago. Because my grandfather was an immigrant, and you're a second generation,
Great grandfather,
third generation immigrant. The thing is, when they came here, they came over usually on some leaky ship that none of us would set foot on for a day cruise in the Gulf. And they rowed across the ocean. They knew when they came over here, they were not going back. Most of them would not go through that journey again for anything. So when they came here, they adapted to the country and they became citizens. They joined the army when we had wars. They went off. They fought. They became American citizens. Now, what we have today is called modern transportation. And modern transportation says if you don't like it somewhere, or you get in trouble, or you do something wrong, if you've got, say, $1,500, you can probably get a plane trip to wherever you want to go in the world and pick up and leave again. And that is there is, and plus telephones. And these folks never break the ties with their country of origin. They tend to hang on to it. The melting pot isn't melting anymore. So we have people here of that nature. Now, one of the things is many of the people who come here are not immigrants, and this is one of the problems we have, even our organization has as a matter of semantics. They are economic migrants. I consider the true immigrants the people who came here from Cuba, for example. Of all of the Hispanics that I know, they are the people who have fit into the country. They've melded in. We've made them governors, and probably going to make one a senator here very shortly for this state. They have done everything that you should do as an American citizen. We've allowed people to come in from Vietnam because a lot of our allies were political refugees and sought asylum in the United States, and they have made this state different in the whole Gulf Coast because they're involved in the fishing industry and other industries. So we have always invited people in. Those people from Vietnam have fit into the American culture. They insist that their children learn English, and
Right.
they learn English themselves. You must learn English if you're going to survive in this country and prosper.
So you're saying, and I'm going to play devil's advocate role again. I see what has happened to this country, and I always say we've got countries within our country, and that is what's eating away at the culture of America. And we suddenly don't have a firm identity to pass on to our children that they can see and live out and continue on the culture that was laid by those who came before us. To me, that is the main problem. If people were to come here and learn English, because as you say, we must be a nation that has a language that we all speak. Otherwise, you've got, as I said, countries within our country. And that's what we have now. To me, that is the biggest detriment to our future, to our culture. And it's not about, to me, it's not about the money. Although the money is an important issue. It's very one-sided. It's going out, it's not coming in. Their money that they're earning, a lot of that is going back to Mexico.
That's who funded their families.
That is true, but we shouldn't focus just on Mexico, because this
Correct.
is a worldwide thing, and I don't want to pick on Mexico, even though 60-some-odd% of all of our immigrants are from Mexico. I don't want to pick on them. I think it's a greater problem than just Mexico, but what you just described is correct. We have a culture war going on.
And you're right. They're not all from Mexico. My family is, so that's kind of where I most relate to, but you're right. And I shouldn't pick on them. But to say that the money they are earning here is leaving the United States and going to their countries of origin, regardless where that country is. And since that money isn't staying here, it isn't circulating around our cities and our states and our nation, it opens the door to inflation because we don't have our own money. And we've got a government printing more and more money, and everything goes up, and food goes up, and the value of everything goes down. And to me, I wouldn't care if they came here and learned the things that we have to learn: history, our language. To be able to earn a living, you should have to be able to speak English in America. Otherwise, you're endangering other people who are working with you, especially, say, at a construction site or at some of the chemical plants, which are plentiful. I mean, they're all over here in Texas. And to me, there are a lot of issues that I see. Welcoming immigrants is not the issue I see, but certainly there are steps that they have to take. And the driving force is, I think for most Americans, the driving force is that we really want them to learn pride in living in America. Learn to be an American, not just an immigrant. Is that?
You're absolutely correct. And going back again to what I mentioned earlier, these are not true immigrants as our grandparents were. These are economic migrants. And think of this, the money that they're sending back to wherever they came from, if we were to fall into some great deep depression and those jobs were not here, do you really think they would stay here? And that is a good question, and I think it's one that needs to be thought about by many people, because with modern airfare, all they need at this point is $1,500 to $2,000, and they can go anywhere they want to go. They can go back home. they can go over to whatever country they might be able to get into. See, the reason we're such a draw here is we're a bunch of chumps. And and we allow people to sneak into our country. You cannot sneak into Mexico. They have some very heavy laws and penalties if you sneak into Mexico and start working there and you're not authorized to work there. And that's the way with most of the rest of the world. And so we have allowed ourselves to be chumps and allow anybody to come in here, including our enemies from around the world, and they come in and they can set up shop here and do whatever they want to do. And, of course, what I see sometimes as the most egregious are those who go into business for themselves because they are making money and they are sending it to different organizations that none of us would approve of in the Middle East and elsewhere. And they are working here. They cheat on their taxes as much as they can, and they prosper very well. And quite frankly, you know, most of us could do quite well if we didn't have to pay any taxes, or we could find a way to get around paying those taxes.
Right. But we find that we are a nation of laws, and we have been brought up that way to respect the law and to do right by our country.
Larry, I appreciate you being here with me today. I am sorry to say that we have only about a minute, so if you would share with us a final thought and where we can learn more on this topic.
Well, this weekend we have our monthly meeting at Tracy G. Community Center at 3595 West Central Drive in the West Chase District. And our speaker is Dr. Michael Vickers, and he is a veterinarian from Falfurrias. And he is going to come in and tell us about how bad things are on the border right now, and he will give us a real good picture of what our own citizens are having to endure within illegal aliens who are coming at, and sometimes at the rate of 1,000 a night. And so anyone who would like to come and hear this, we'd love to have them come to our meeting on Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. And so I think the main thing anyone should remember is English first. We're a culture that is distinct in the world, and we need to protect it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Larry. I appreciate all that you're doing and all that you continue to do, all that you have done, and all that you continue to do to raise awareness of this very real threat to our culture and our society. Don't forget, folks, this weekend at Tracy G. Community Center, that's 3599 West Center Drive, Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. That's Houston 77042 for those of you who are punching it into the GPS. Be there to hear Dr. Michael Vickers share true experiences that Americans are enduring because of our government's lack of border security and law enforcement. That's the West Chase District. And for more information, the website for Texans for Immigration Reduction and Enforcement is www.tfire.org. That's TFIRE.org. God bless you all. Don't forget, we're in our 40 days of prayer for America. So keep praying and know that our bad choices pale in the light of God's love. He is still in control. This is Beatrice. You've been listening to All Fired Up Radio.